Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripasindubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I will Krishna. Nice picture, most of my eyes. The torchlight of knowledge and from respect for the sense of time, and respect for the sense of time, the extraordinary the edges, slightly confused the desires of anyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls who comparati vachalam pangamandayate vivinyasapatam nande Shri Gurum Karanam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, Hare Krishna everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we will start Canto 2, which will be a little philosophical, but we will go through it with the beautiful purports by Srila Prabhupada. The first step in God realization. Canto 2, Chapter 1 is the first step in God realization. And the title of the second canto is the Cosmic Manifestation. So we all know that first and second canto, they represent the lotus feet of Krishna. And even in the deity form, when we approach Krishna, we should actually approach Krishna through the lotus feet, actually, right? So let's share screen. Srimad Bhagavatam. So yesterday when we completed Canto 1, so in the end, there was, what is that? Yeah, Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadev Goswami came and Parikshit Maharaj asked few questions, and we saw how grateful Parikshit Maharaj was on receiving Sukadev Goswami and giving him proper respect and properly honoring him. He asked the questions, and they were not just like any mundane question, but they were for the real well-being of not only Parikshit Maharaj, but everyone, basically, whoever could hear them. They were for the well-being of all. So today, this Canto 2, actually, like Srimad Bhagavatam, we say that it is spoken by Sukadev Goswami, but in first canto, Sukadev Goswami didn't speak anything yet, right? So here in second canto, now Sukadev Goswami is going to start hearing. What is this invocation? Yeah, so we will start with this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Neha and Kalpana, can you mute your phones, because it is a static noise comes when, especially Neha, your microphone, when it is unmuted, there is a noise that comes. All right, so translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O my Lord, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. Vasudevaya means to Krishna, the son of Vasudev. Since by chanting the name of Krishna, Vasudev, one can achieve all the good results of charity, austerity, and penances. It is to be understood that by the chanting of this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, the author or the speaker or any one of the readers of Srimad Bhagavatam is offering respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the principles of creation are described, and thus the first canto may be called creation. Similarly, in the second canto, the post-creation cosmic manifestation is described. The different planetary systems are described in the second canto as different parts of the universal body of the Lord. For this reason, the second canto may be called the cosmic manifestation. There are 10 chapters in second canto, and in these 10 chapters, the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam and the different symptoms of this purpose are narrated. The first chapter describes the glories of chanting, and it hints at the process by which the neophyte devotees may perform meditation on the universal form of the Lord. In the first verse, Sukadeva Goswami replies to the questions of Maharaj Parikshit, who asked him about one's duties at the point of death. Maharaj Parikshit was glad to receive Sukadeva Goswami, and he was proud of being a descendant of Arjun, the intimate friend of Krishna. Personally, he was very humble and meek, but he expressed his gladness that Lord Krishna was very kind to his grandfathers, the sons of Pandu, especially his own grandfather Arjun. And because Lord Krishna was always pleased with Maharaj Parikshit's family, at the verge of Maharaj Parikshit's death, Sukadeva Goswami was sent to help him in the process of self-realization. Maharaj Parikshit was a devotee of Lord Krishna from his childhood, so he had natural affection for Krishna. Sukadeva Goswami could understand his devotion. Therefore, he welcomed the questions about the king's duty. Because the king hinted that worship of Lord Krishna is the ultimate function of every living entity, Sukadeva Goswami welcomed the suggestion and said, because you have raised questions about Krishna, your question is most glorious. The translation of the first verse is as follows. Okay, Hare Krishna. So this Srila Prabhupada is just giving an overview, just a summary of this. So primary creation and then secondary creation. So this canto describes about secondary creation. Primary creation is just when Krishna creates Mahatattva and those, but then secondary creation, Lord Brahma creates the material universes, right? But Lord Brahma cannot create the ingredients. Ingredients are already existing given by the Supreme Lord Krishna. Lord Brahma just does the service of creating material universes, all the planets and everything. Is the engineer of material universes, Lord Brahma. That is what we hear from. And we heard about humility of Parikshit Maharaj and his gratitude for the sages to come and for Sukadeva Goswami to come. And we saw like Parikshit, we know that because he was actually a great devotee, even before he appeared in the womb of his mother, Krishna came to protect him. And his name is Parikshit. He is always looking for and anxious about finding, oh, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Right? So he is a great devotee. And like we see that how when one is a devotee, then Krishna arranges that in the end, they attain that self-realization and realization of the Supreme Lord and go back to him. Yeah. And then the questions again in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is speaking about how Sukadeva Goswami's questions are really the type of questions we should ask. Actually, in first canto, in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada mentions that everybody is asking questions. I think it was in the first chapter, one of the purport. Even the birds are asking questions. Everybody is asking questions. But the real question, the real meaningful questions are those when it is for the ultimate well-being of oneself and others. When it is about Krishna, then it is actually the real question. So here we will see that Sukadeva Goswami is going to thank Parikshit Maharaj for asking such questions. And we saw in first canto, when the sages of Naimisharanya asked questions, then Sutta Goswami also also said that in the second chapter of first canto, right? That your questions are just, and I'm happy to have such questions. And then he meditated on Sukadeva Goswami and Krishna, and he answered the questions, right? So let's go to verse 1. Someone would like to read?
I can read, Mataji.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Shri Sukha Uvacha Variyan Esate Prasna Krito Loka Hitam Nirpa Atmavitsam Mata Pumsam Strota Vyadisu Ya Para. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada teacher. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, "My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists." Purport. Even the very question is so nice that it is the best subject matter for hearing. Simply by such questioning and hearing, one can achieve the highest perfectional stage of life. Because Lord Krishna is the original Supreme Person, any question about him is original and perfect. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the highest perfection of life is to achieve the transcendental loving service of Krishna. Because questions and answers about Krishna elevate one to the transcendental platform, the questions of Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna philosophy are greatly glorified. Maharaj Parikshit wanted to absorb his mind completely in Krishna, and as such absorption can be effected simply by the hearing of uncommon activities of Krishna. For instance, in the Bhagavad-Gita, it is stated that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance, disappearance, and activities, one can immediately return back home, back to Godhead, and never come back to this miserable condition of material existence. It is very auspicious, therefore, to hear about Krishna. So Maharaj Parikshit requested Sukadeva Goswami to narrate the activities of Krishna so that he could engage his mind in Krishna. The activities of Krishna are not different from Krishna himself. As long as one is engaged in hearing about transcendental activities of Krishna, he remains aloof from the conditional life of material existence. The topics of Lord Shri Krishna are so auspicious that they purify the speaker, the hearer, and the inquirer. They are compared to the Ganges water, which flow from the toe of Lord Krishna. Wherever the Ganges waters go, they purify the land and the person who bathes in them. Similarly, Krishna Katha or topics of Krishna are so pure that whatever they are spoken, so pure that wherever they are spoken, the place, the hearer, the inquirer, the speaker, and all concerned become purified. Hare Krishna.
Very cool. Yeah, Prabhu, you want to do something?
Yes, a lot of instructions in this purport of Srila Prabhupada. First of all, this asking the perfect question, because this is the most important question Maharaj Parikshit asked, and it is for all kinds of people, like said in the translation. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the question Parikshit Maharaj asked was regarding relating to Krishna, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the highest, but the highest thing we can do is in perfectional stages. After asking questions about, getting transcendental loving service to Lord Krishna.
Mm.
And with Maharaj Parikshit also said that his mind was completely absorbed in Krishna, and that's how we should also do that here and by hearing and simply by hearing and inquiring. And then we have also, if one comes to know of the Krishna's transcendental appearance, disappearance activities, then one doesn't have to come back. That sloka from the Bhagavad-Gita, then Janma Karma.
Kamchemi divyam evam yoveti tatvataha deham punarjanma naeti mameti sa Arjuna.
Right. And then also, it's also said that Krishna is absolute, being completely absolute. So he's hearing about him, and it's none different from him. Krishna Katha and Krishna it's one and the same, because Krishna is absolute. And this Katha purifies the speaker, the inquirer, and the person who is listening to this. And just like as the Ganges purified, so does the Krishna Katha.
Yeah. So it's all beneficial for all kinds of people, right? In the translation, it says it is very beneficial for all kinds of. There is one sentence here that caught my attention. As long as one is in hearing such transcendental activities of Krishna, he remains aloof from the conditional life of material existence. All of us have that experience, yes or no?
Yes.
So all of us have that. When we are hearing, then we are just not anxious about anything that's going on in our material lives, right? Yeah. So this is the formula. If we want to be free from anxiety, hear about Krishna's transcendental activities. Yeah. So and actually, this Bhagavatam could have ended in first 3 chapters itself. So it's the proper hearing and proper speaker and proper listener are there, then the flow, the Ganga of Krishna's Katha, glories can keep going on and on and on, right? Because it could have ended, but the sages of Nimisharan, they kept asking questions. And Sutta Goswami kept answering in line with what Sukadev Goswami has spoken to Parikshit Maharaj. Yes, if we want our purification, we should absorb. Actually, one thing that really, so somewhere in the previous purport, there was something neophyte was mentioned, right? And this morning, there was a class by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. There somebody asked a question and he mentioned himself as neophyte, how we keep enthusiasm in devotional service, something like that was the question. And then Maharaj kindly said that first thing he said was, always consider yourself a neophyte. All right, so let's move on. Okay, someone wants to read. Okay, yeah, this 1 to 15, the section, Sukadev Goswami is answering Parikshit Maharaj's questions. So this section, first section is from 1 to 15 in this chapter. The sage immediately answers King's questions. Now he is answering. What were King Parikshit questions? Someone remembers from yesterday?
The duty for one who's about to die.
And what else? He asked one more thing.
What should one hear, chant, remember, and worship?
Yes. Yeah. So, yes. So let's read verse number 2. Someone wants to read?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah, Mataji, please.
Thank you. Srotavyadini Rajendra Narnam Santi Saharsaha Apasyatam Atmatattvam Grahesu Graha Medina. Translation prepared by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, please.
Can you please mute your phone?
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, leave many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. Purport. In the revealed scriptures, there are two nomenclatures for the householder's life. One is Grahastha and the other is Grahmeti. The Grahasthas are those who live together with wife and children but live transcendentally for realizing the ultimate truth. The Grahamedis, however, are those who live only for the benefit of the family members, extended or centralized, and thus are envious of others. The word Medhi indicates jealousy of others. The Grahamedis, being interested in family affairs only, are certainly envious of others. Therefore, one Grahamedi is not on good terms with another Grahamedi, and in the extended form, one community, society, or nation is not on good terms with another counterpart of selfish interest. In the age of Kali, all the householders are jealous of one another because they are blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth. They have many subject matters for hearing, political, scientific, social, economic, and so on. But due to a poor fund of knowledge, they set aside the question of the ultimate miseries of life, namely miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Actually, the human life is meant for making an ultimate solution to birth, death, old age, and disease. But the Grahamatis, being illusioned by the material nature, forget everything about self-realization. The ultimate solution to the problems of life is to go back to home, back to Godhead, and thus, as stated in the Bhagavad-Gita 8.16, the miseries of material existence, birth, death, old age, and disease are removed. The process of going back home, back to Godhead, is to hear about the Supreme Lord and His name, form, attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, and veritatedness. Foolish people do not know this. They want to hear something about the name, form, etc. of everything temporary, and they do not know how to utilize the propensity of hearing for the ultimate good. Misguided as they are, they also create some false literatures about the name, form, attributes, etc. of the ultimate truth. One should not therefore become a Grahmedi simply to exist for envying others. One should become a real householder in terms of the scripture in one sense. Hari Bol.
Very good, Mataji. You want to say something, Mataji?
Yes, yes. So Srila Prabhupada explained about the two types of people, the Grahastha and Grahmeti. And Srila Prabhupada said the Grahasthas are they incline to the further self-realization. But the Grahmetis, they are envious to each other and they are not interested in self-realization process. So our human form of life is for the self-realization. We can go back to Godhead, but they are not interested. And the process to go back to Godhead is the simple. We have to hear about Krishna. We have to chant His holy name, pastimes, and all these things. But these foolish people, they are very illusioned and they are just go with the temporary things. So Srila Prabhupada said we have to be a good householder and we have to go for the spiritual intentions.
Yeah. Yeah, that is why we say Grasta is an ashram.
Yes.
Yeah, in ashram, what do we do? In ashram is for the spiritual advancement. So that if one lives Grasta life appropriately as per that it's describing here, that there is a verse in the second chapter of first canto. Ata pumbir dvija shreshta varan ashram vibhaksha swanushtistasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Meaning when we are following this varana ashram, it is for samsiddhir haritoshanam, for bringing satisfaction to the Supreme Lord. Yes, and anything that we do which is not for the satisfaction of the Lord or for the pleasure of the Lord, it is going to bind us. And this Srila Prabhupada is very beautifully describing here that Grahamedi is actually one Grahamedi is envious and jealous of the other Grahamedi. So, meaning if we want to call ourselves Grasta, proper Grastas, then there shouldn't be any envy for anyone. Yes. And that ultimately, again and again, Srila Prabhupada's purport, we find this one kind of sentence that where is that gone? Something he was saying that getting relief from birth, death, old age, and disease. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. Yeah. Uh, yeah, factually, the human life is meant for making an ultimate solution to birth, death, old age, and disease. But the Grahamedis, being illusioned by the material nature, forget everything about self realization. The ultimate solution to the problems of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. And all of us have that experience that here in this material world, there is not any permanent solution. So basically, if we are interested in hearing about the temporary subject matter, then we kind of become Grahamedis. But if we always have that want or desire to hear about something which is beyond temporary, which is eternal, means the Supreme Lord and his devotees, then actually we are actually called grastas. Otherwise, we are even in the name only, grihastas in the name only. And also, like Parikshit Maharaj asked the question, what should one hear about? What should one hear, chant, remember, and worship? Yes. So here, Sukadev Goswami is actually first speaking what one should not hear about, and and then later he is going to speak about what one should hear about. So generally, a good definition is negation and positive and negative, what one should not do and what one should do. So hearing of what one should not hear about, the temporary subject matter, the material temporary subject matter, as he is describing here. So these Grahamedis, they are, because of the ignorance, they just, their subject matter for hearing about is just materially, they're completely materially engrossed. They have different subject matters to hear about, but they are just about the temporary situation, not for the real perfection of life. Yeah, let's move on to the next verse. Someone will...
Can I read, Mataji?
Sure.
Text 3. Nidraya ritaye nattam vyavayena cha vayaha divachate haya rajan kutumba baranena va. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace.
This is sounds so nice. Means not nice in the negative sense actually. Kutumb bharnena va. Kutumb bharnena va. So yeah, go ahead, Kokila.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night, either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime, either in making money or maintaining the family members. Purport. The present human civilization is primarily based on principles of sleeping and sex indulgence at night, and earning money in the day and spending the same for the family maintenance. Such a form of human civilization is condemned by the Bhagavata school because human life is a combination of matter and spirit soul. The whole process of Vedic knowledge is directed at liberating the spirit soul from the contamination of matter. The knowledge concerning this is called Atma Tattva. Those men who are too materialistic are unaware of this knowledge and are more inclined to economic development for material enjoyment. Such materialistic men are called karmis of fruitive labors, and they are allowed regulated economic development or association of women for sex indulgence. Those who are above the karmis, that is, the jnanis, yogis, and devotees, are strictly prohibited from sex indulgence. The karmis are more or less devoid of Atma Tattva knowledge, and as such, their life is spent without spiritual profit. The human life is not meant for hard labor for economic development, nor is meant for sex indulgence, like that of the dogs and hogs. It is especially meant for making a solution to the problem of material life and the miseries thereof. So the karmis waste their valuable human life by sleeping and sex indulgence at night and by laboring hard in the daytime to accumulate wealth. And after doing so, they try to improve the standard of materialistic life. The materialistic way of life is described herein in a nutshell, and how foolishly men wasted the boon of human life is described as follows. Hare Krishna.
You want to say something, Cookie?
Yeah, Mataji, this is clearly what the Western culture is. So just
no, all culture, not only Western. Now it's all over.
now it's all, yeah. But Vedic culture is not that. But we don't have Vedic culture anymore. It's very rare. So the basic, but this is what is everywhere. So just maintaining the body and earning very hard to in the daytime, and in the nighttime they only sleep a lot or indulge in sex. So they don't really realize the importance of human birth, that is to realize the soul. So that's what they are condemning in this purport, Mataji.
Yeah, so basically what happens is, because of the allurement of matter, the temporary stuff, flowery stuff, we forget completely our constitutional position, which is to serve and please Krishna. It gets diverted to self, sense enjoyment, and then all this happens, sense enjoyment, and which is entangling. So what is the purpose of human form of life? Is to utilize this life for understanding who we really are, to revive our constitutional position of servant of servant of servant. So here Srila Prabhupada writes, the human life is not meant for hard labor for economic development. Who remembers the verses which are there in first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 2, which relates to this? Someone remembers that set of verses in first canto, where he's, what is that? Dharmasya hi apavargasya नार्थो अर्थाय उपकल्पते धर्म एकांतस्य काम लाभाय ही जीवित. That one, those 2-3 verses there. Let me pull up here. This one, yeah. So these two are the answers to first two questions. What is that? सवय पुंसो परो धर्मो यतो भक्तिरदोक्षजे अहेतुकीय प्रतिहता ये आत्मा supersediti. So these were about the occupational duty and the real, this up till 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, and yeah, 8, 9, and 10 actually are the real. We should always remember these verses, because we have to work, because we are the householders. What is that? Dharma swanushthis. I always have a tongue tied on this word. Dharma swanusthitaha pumsa vishwaksena kathashuyah na utpadyat yatiratim shram mevihi kevalam. So basically, if in the occupational activities of a man, so the occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for message of personality of Godhead. So what is that? Human life is for developing that attraction for Krishna Katha. Dharma swanusthitaha pumsa Vishwaksena Kathashuyah Nautpadyat Yatiratim Sharam Mevahi Kevalam. And then Dharmasya hi apavargasya nartho arthaya upkalpate narthasya dharmekantasya kamalabhaya hi smritaha. So what does this say? That only it's not for our sense enjoyment that comes out of our occupation. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. No matter what work we do, it is for our liberation. Like Srila Prabhupada speaks to His Grace Amrish Prabhu, that you do it for Krishna, then actually you will always be associated with me. You won't, and devotee association. So even if we don't have devotee association, even if we are doing work like karmi, but if we do it for Krishna, then it will lead us to ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. So what did His Grace Amrish Prabhu do? He, whatever is there, he used it in Krishna service. And then this one, कामस्य न प्रीतिर्लाभो जीवेत यावतः जीवस्य तत्त्वजिज्ञासा नार्थो यश्चेह कर्मभिः. So life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should, so we get money from our occupation, but it should not be used for sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. Since a human being is meant for inquiry into the absolute truth, nothing else should be the goal of one's work. So these three verses, actually those of us who work anyway, or who live a grasta life, we should always remember that whatever gain comes, it's not for our sense enjoyment. Only that much we need. Like, why did I think of these verses? Is because Srila Prabhupada writes here, the human life is not meant for hard labor for economic development, nor is it meant for sex indulgence like that of dogs and hogs. That's why I thought we should go to these three verses and see, okay, if it is not done, then what it is. Should we move on to the next verse?
Yeah, I can read Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead.
देहपत्या कलात्रदिषु आत्मा सेनस्व अस्तस्व अपि तेषां परमतो निधानां पाश्यान् अपि न पश्यति. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not require into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still don't see their inevitable destruction. Purport. This material world is called the world of death. Every living being, beginning from Brahma, whose duration of life is some thousands of millions of years, down to the germs who live for a few seconds only, is struggling for existence. Therefore, this life is a sort of fight with material nature, which imposes death upon all. In the human form of life, a living being is competent enough to come to an understanding of this great struggle for existence. But being too attached to family members, society, country, etc., he wants to win over the invincible material nature by the aid of bodily strength, children, wife, relatives, etc. Although he is sufficiently experienced in the matter by dint of past experience and previous examples of his deceased predecessors, he does not see that the so called fighting soldiers, like the children, relatives, society members, and countrymen, are all fallible in the great struggle. One should examine the fact that his father or his father's father has already died, and that he himself is therefore also sure to die. And similarly, his children, who are would be fathers of their children, will also die in due course. No one will survive in this struggle with material nature. The history of human society definitely proves it. Yet, the foolish people still suggest that in the future they will be able to live perpetually with the help of material science. This poor fund of knowledge exhibited by human society is certainly misleading, and it is all due to ignoring the constitution of the living soul. This material world exists only as a dream due to our attachment to it. Otherwise, the living soul is always different from the material nature. The great ocean of material nature is tossing with the waves of time. and the so-called living conditions are something like foaming bubbles, which appear before us as bodily self, wife, children, society, countrymen, etc. Due to a lack of knowledge of self, we become victimized by the force of ignorance and thus spoil the valuable energy of human life in a vain search after permanent living conditions, such which are impossible in this material world. Our friends, relatives, and so called wives and children are not only fallible but also bewildered by the outward glamour of the material existence. As such, they cannot save us. Still, we think that we are safe within the orbit of family, society, or country. The whole materialistic advancement of human civilization is like the decoration of a dead body. Everybody is a dead body flapping only for a few days, and yet all the energy of human life is being wasted in the decoration of this dead body. Sukadev Goswami is pointing out the duty of the human being after showing the actual position of bewildered human activities. Persons who are devoid of knowledge of Atma Tattva are misguided. But those who are devotees of the Lord and have perfect realization of transcendental knowledge are not bewildered. Hari Bol.
Very good. Yeah, you want to say something?
Yes, Mataji. So here it is clearly describing how we all are in this material world, are fallible, and everybody, our just like our grands, and like and we all are gonna die, and so is our circle, the society, the family, the kids, and everybody is fallible. And those who don't have the knowledge of Atma Tattva don't realize that, and they are just busy with the mundane activities of and feel secure within their circle. And those who have the knowledge of Atma Tattva and the knowledge of the transcendental knowledge, they don't get bewildered by this. And they have the perfect realization. Hari Bol.
Hmm. So, actually, it is because of forgetfulness of our relationship with Krishna, and because of forgetfulness of our real nature of being servant of Krishna, we get attached to temporary, and we think that to be all in all. Because of here the verse say that because of that divide of Atma Tattva, meaning and who we are, actually forgetting who we are. That's why we take birth in this material world, because of that forgetfulness of our being tiny parts and parcel and servant of Krishna. We want to enjoy, and then we are covered by the false ego that I am this body, I am not the spirit soul. And we think everything which is related to this body is ours, and they are actually, even though we see deaths of all our parents and grandparents and all, but we think that this won't happen to us. Yes. So this one thing really caught me here. This material, like material, Srila Prabhupada says, this material world exists only as a dream due to our attachment to it. So it's such a deep sentence. It covers so much, actually. It covers the whole material life, kind of, because of our attachment, because we keep taking birth again and again because of our attachment in the material world to our relatives, family, and all, right? Always different from material nature, and the great ocean of material nature is tossing with the waves of time, and the so-called living conditions are something like foaming bubbles, which appear before us as bodily self, wife, children, society, countrymen, etc. Yeah. So, yeah. And another thing that really caught me here is, yeah, this decoration of dead body. So, so poetically, Srila Prabhupada is, what a poet he is. He is writing that decoration. Everyone is a dead body flapping only for a few days. And yet all energy of human life is being wasted in the decoration of this dead body. Who can write? Who else than Srila Prabhupada can write like this? So beautiful. Yeah. So basically, what does it mean here is that because uh, we are not investing our human life in eternal, but we are wasting it in temporary decoration of this body, which is going to die anyways, no matter what we do with it. And there are so many things, like people do plastic surgery just to make this face look more beautiful. And we see all variety of things people do to just make this body look beautiful, right? Which is waste of time completely. All right, so let's go on to the next verse. So now nice verses are coming. Now the positive answer is coming. And it's very, very important verse number 5. Someone wants to read? All right, I can read. Tasmat Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smratavyasche Cheta Bhayam Ichchata Abhayam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O descendant of King Bharat, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller, and the savior from all miseries. So what should one hear about and glorify and remember is the Supreme Personality of Godhead if we desire to be free from fear. If we want to be free from all miseries, then we should hear about, glorify, and remember the personality of Godhead. Purport. In the previous verse, Shri Sukadeva Goswami has described how the foolish materially attached men are wasting their valuable time in the improvement of the material condition of life by sleeping, indulging in sex life, developing economic conditions, and maintaining a band of relatives who are to be vanquished in the air of oblivion. Wow. Being engaged in all these materialistic activities, the living soul entangles himself in the cycle of law of fruitive actions. This entails the chain of birth and death in the 8.4 million species of life. The aquatics, the vegetables, the reptiles, the birds, the beasts, the uncivilized men, then again the human form, which is the chance for getting out of the cycle of fruitive action. Therefore, if one desires freedom from this vicious cycle, then one must cease to act as a karmi or enjoyer of the results of one's own work, good or bad. So this fruitive tendency has to be broken, because that is what is bringing us here again and again. One should not do anything, either good or bad, on his own account, but must execute everything on behalf of the Supreme Lord, the ultimate proprietor of everything that we yat karosi yadasnasi yadjosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kunteya tat kurushvamadarpanam. Srila Prabhupada is quoting this verse 927 here. This process of doing work is recommended in the Bhagavad-Gita 9.27 also, where instruction is given for working on the Lord's account. Therefore, one should first of all hear about the Lord. When one has perfectly and scrutinizingly heard, one must glorify his acts and deeds, and thus it will become possible to remember constantly the transcendental nature of the Lord. Hearing about and glorifying the Lord are identical with the transcendental nature of the Lord, and by so doing, one will be always in the association of the Lord, This brings freedom from all sorts of fear. The Lord is the super soul, Paramatma, present in the hearts of all living beings. And thus by the above hearing and glorifying process, the Lord invites the association of all in his creation. This process of hearing about and glorifying the Lord is applicable for everyone, whoever he may be, and it will lead one to the ultimate success in everything in which one may be engaged by providence. So, what is that? 1 second. This process of hearing about and glorifying the Lord is applicable for everyone, whoever he may be, and it will lead one to ultimate success in everything in which one may be engaged by providence. So our success will be by that hearing and glorifying process. There are many classes of human beings: the fruitive workers, the empiric philosophers, the mystic yogis, and ultimately the unalloyed devotees. For all of them, one and the same process is applicable for achieving the desired success. Everyone wants to be free from all kinds of fear, and everyone wants to the fullest extent the happiness of life. The perfect process for achieving this here and now is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is uttered by such a great authority as Srila Sukadeva Goswami. By hearing about and glorifying the Lord, all a person's activities become molded into spiritual activities, and thus all conception of material miseries become completely vanquished. Hari Hari Bol. So what to hear, what to chant, and what to remember is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, it is wasting time. Band of relatives who are vanquished in the air of oblivion. So that's what we shouldn't do. And what we should do is we should hear about whatever, because in this material life we have duties to do. So, but Krishna has given the formula: whatever we do it for Krishna, so that we don't get entangled ourselves in the fruitive good or bad result. It becomes a karma, right? And when we hear about and chant about Krishna, glorify Krishna and hear about him, then we are associated with Krishna. And that will take us away from all the miseries and all the fear. Right? Yes. And it's for all, no matter what. It's not that there is a prerequisite or there is some qualification required for hearing and chanting. Anyone and everyone can participate in this process of hearing and chanting. Yeah. All right. So glories of hearing. What should we hear about? What should we chant about? And what should we remember? Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a very important verse. Actually, Tasmad Bharta Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyascha Ichat Abhayam. Anybody has anything to add? Say, share. It's 8:25. Quickly, few minutes. We can have some. So one thing that really struck me is Srila Prabhupada's poetic writing, even though it's not a poem, the purpose, but still all the sentences feel like so poetic. One of the 26 qualities of a devotee described in Chaitanya Charitamrita is a devotee is a kavi, a poet, and Srila Prabhupada has all those 26 qualities in him. Okay, dear devotees, something you want to say, add, correct, please.
No, I don't
Mataji, I was,
Yeah, go ahead. Somebody was
yeah.
speaking.
Mataji, so like it says like glorify Krishna. So I am like, I don't even know how to glorify. Like, can you?
Oh, so chant is when we are chanting his names, that is also glorification of Krishna.
Like if,
Glorify means
yeah.
speaking, and speaking or chanting, or like when you are telling somebody about Krishna, means who is Krishna, that is also his glory, right?
Like if I have to tell someone who doesn't know anything about Krishna, so how should I glorify Krishna? What should I
How
like?
should you glorify Krishna? Who is Krishna? Who is Krishna? He is the source of all living entities, everything, not only living entities, he is the source. Everything comes from him. And how do you glorify Krishna? Krishna, even though he is the source of everything, but he becomes the chariot driver of Arjuna.
Yeah, yes, Mataji.
Yeah. He protected Parikshit Maharaj.
Mm-hmm.
He loves his devotees. He cares for his devotees. How so many times he protected Pandavas in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like
And
about
when
his own like his qualities, like
yeah, so many qualities. He is Bhaktavatsala. The most endearing quality of Krishna is Bhaktavatsala. That is why he became the chariot driver. That is why he became the, what is that, foot wash person in the Rajsuya Yagya of Yudhishthir Maharaj. Is that not the glory of Krishna? How he lifted the Govardhan hill to give protection to all the Vrajvasis. What is that? Is that a glory of Krishna or no?
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
right? So
Mhm.
all
I was
these are
thinking of
like
like his
whatever.
personal features, like
Yeah, and the beauty also. But
yeah,
beauty, I mean, people
not
may
only
not.
beauty, like
Yeah,
they
but
feel like
it's,
he has
yeah,
the
his
most qualities,
activities, his
like
form, qualities, names,
mhm.
and pastimes, everything is glorification of Krishna, right?
Like he has the most qualities, like every
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Those are the technical things. Those may not attract the heart of
Mhm.
those people who don't know anything about Krishna, but the pastimes like becoming the chariot driver, lifting Govardhan
Mhm.
hill, killing Putana, and still giving her a position of a Dhatri, those kind
Mhm.
of things might attract people more than anything else.
Mhm. Okay.
How he protected Pandavas so many times.
Yes, Mataji.
How he married Rukmini Devi.
Actually, Mataji, I think all the bhajans that we hear, the artis and the
Ah,
songs are
yeah,
all in glorification of Lord.
yeah, yeah. All about Krishna, but like depending upon whom we are speaking, we can speak in a way that be attractive to the other person, because technical things people may not be so much interested in. They may become later, but more attractive is like especially his dealings with protecting people and giving them joy will give more attraction. I mean, for us also, like what do we like most? What is most easiest and what is most attractive to our hearts? Hearing about the pastimes, right?
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
These are very charming. Yeah.